Call to order 6:42, and we'll start with director comments. Don, if you want to go first.
That was all.
Well, I do have one comment. Welcome back to the board, or committee.
Thanks.
Ronnie, so
Thank you.
appreciate your service again.
Right.
Thanks. I'm glad to be back.
What?
I guess in answer to your question, I will resubmit, and I need to do it before Friday because I'll be gone until October then. So, I do have one other question, and this is kind of more to Adri, with the communications process during the thing. There's a lot of stuff on social media, but I never got a phone call, never got a text. Did that go away?
No.
Because we used to get that, and then
we use that, the CLS Connect. We use that during an emergency. Like, for example, last year when we had to, like, you know, the mandatory evacuation, that's when we use that. And we only do that because, you know, like, people get nervous, so we only use that whenever it's an emergency. In this situation, we only use website and social media because there was no such thing as a mandatory order from the mayor.
okay, well, I thought we declared a disaster, and so that would have qualified, because I know a lot of people that came talking to me saying that they don't do social media, they don't look at, and we lost internet.
And we can talk about that, yeah. We can try to accommodate that as well, maybe not during an emergency anymore, so we can have phone calls too.
Yeah, I think that would be put it this way. Last hurricane, we got almost daily updates, there were phone calls and that type of thing coming in, and a lot of people don't use social media on the island because there are a bunch of older folks here, so. Thanks.
We've got a couple of comments. I don't know if y'all recall, but Charles Scoville asked that we do not give him a plaque for his services and rather donate that to Stewart Elementary. So I've been working with them and the librarian, and we cut a check for her, and I brought it to her last Friday. And the school and principal and librarian were extremely happy about that. Did a little photo and stuff. So they're going to buy specific books and then inscribe his name in the Clear Lake Shores EDC. So that worked out really well. I finally met John Judice, who runs the Marina Bay Harbor over here. And eventually, when they start getting a little bit more settled down, we are going to do a social media post and just introducing them to Clear Lake Shores. He says that they're going to start working on the south. I don't know if y'all have been there. It looks really good, but the north side's completed. But or the east side, then they're going to completely do the docks on the other side as well. They're going to have a full-time repair yard that they're going to run themselves, because I thought I heard that they may use a third party, but I think they're going to run it themselves. And I think they're going to delay the store at the end there, the convenience store, but they're not completely sure yet. Last, I emailed and left a voicemail for Dawn Holly. She runs the real estate for Specs, just to see if I can get any answers about them moving into Kemah, and she did not reply. But I'll keep trying. And I don't know if y'all talked to any managers. We kind of talked about this briefly during our workshop. But if y'all know anyone over there that may have any inside info, I'd be curious to. Specs.
Specs Liquor?
Mm-hmm.
They're not in Clear Lake Shores?
They may move out.
They may close the store.
They may move over to, the Pier 1 location for a larger
Oh.
location. So we want to at least touch base with them to see if, yeah, so it's good and bad, I guess, for us. That's all I have. Any unscheduled visitors? None. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? It's the July and August financials, July and August check registry, minutes from July, and minutes from our budget workshop last month in August.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second it.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All right, everybody in favor, say aye. All in favor, approving? Aye. Okay. Going forward, we'll probably start, adopting city council's way of doing that, where if you don't have anything to discuss, you can just approve it and move on. Unless you just like being here longer. No. All right, number 5, update on Shell Bottom Park, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department grant, Brent Spear. That was removed on the final agenda. That's good.
And my apologies. Shell Bottom Park and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Division grant is moving forward. The contact that I've had through the beginning of this process is retired, so there's a new person temporarily in that position until they hire someone. I did have a phone conference with them for about 2 hours on Friday afternoon. So that's moving forward. I've supplied the Texas Historical Commission with our project scope and all of that, and they have rendered a decision that we are not going to be impacting any historical items. So that's kind of it's a low and easy hurdle to get over, but it starts that process. We are working right now on the preliminary designs. All of the surveying was done by Shell Bottom, or at Shell Bottom by Shell Mark Engineering. So I have preliminary design on that. It's been posted to the website, and we're working through some changes on it. I do need to pay them for the work that they've done, and I believe that was approved at previous EDC meeting, so up to $25,000. So make those payments in a timely manner to them for their work that they're completing. Anticipate having comments back to them either this week or early next week, and so they can get working on that so we can start polishing those plans. Again, scope of work, two piers, replacing the existing pier, putting a second pier on the other side of or on the south side of the boat ramp, replacing the entire boat ramp, and putting in they call it a bulkhead, but it's underwater. But it will be a bulkhead at the very end of it to prevent it from being washed out, and that's why we go to these professionals, because they have the solutions for that kind of stuff. That's a problem that we've had with our current boat ramp. And then also looking to expand the parking area and pave that. So the plan is not to change the overall elevation of the parking lot, but to work within that constraint, because it does have the proper flow back to the channel, but to pave that in concrete was the plan. There's no scheduled electrical there. There's no scheduled restrooms there, and part of the parking will be ADA compliant, so that will meet those criteria as well.
So there's no light. I thought we were going to have light over there.
We'll have solar lighting and not hardwired.
I know we're about to cut the first check for about $9,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, I think $9,000 for engineering.
How does the reimbursement work on that? Do we wait till it's all done, or do we slowly get reimbursed as we cut the checks.
My first check, and I'll find out.
Okay.
I think you have to wait until you're completely done with your plan, with that professional set of drawings, and then
Sure.
submit for reimbursement, so they're not continually writing checks along the way.
Right.
So after that plan gets approved, then you have to go out for contract bids?
Yeah, then we'll go out for contract bidding.
So is there?
And we also have a permitting process with the Army Corps of Engineers, and GLO will have to review it because we're not only replacing a structure, but we're putting a new structure in, so they have to review that as well.
So this is gonna go out into 2022 before you even get
Yeah,
started?
it'll be a 2022. And it was spec'd to be a 3-year project when it got started. We got a slow start because Texas Parks and Wildlife changed their computer system with their grant administration software, and the vendor that said they could bring the data in and make it work seamlessly, that didn't happen when they did that, so they had to physically go through each record from the complete history of Texas Parks and Wildlife and put it in the right folder. So they put us off until they were on the new system to start the process.
So maybe a premature question, but I guess as part of the construction strategy, will they have to shut down the ramp for an extended period of time?
Probably will, and we'll have to shut down that area to do concrete paving, do the reinforcing bar, all of that. Be similar to doing say Juniper in the city. So I don't have a timeline yet because number one, it hasn't been designed. Number two, it hasn't been sent out with a construction with an engineer's estimate of timing.
Anyone else? All right, we'll basically skip over number 6. This is involving a return check during the COVID business retention program, but Brent said that's just going to happen internally, so there's nothing that we need to do.
Can you go back in the budget?
You want to touch on it?
It was part of the business retention grant process. It was issued to a business that is still in business, still here in the city. The problem was that it was also going through an ownership change, and so it was issued to the business name as opposed to an individual, because that's the way it's set up with our grant process. And between getting the check, which was very quick, and trying to take it to the bank, it went into the account controlled by the person that was selling the business. And so it was cashed, and it went into that account, and then they had to make it was quite a fiasco over a year, but the receiving bank had to contact Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo sent us questionnaires. Did you really write this check, and did you do this and that? And yes, we did. It is a valid check. Then they had to hold it for so many days, and then eventually they wire transferred it back to us. So as part of that grant and for that business, I just felt administratively it just made sense to reissue the check to the business again, and now that it's under the owner, that account's been cleaned up. It's already a sunk cost, and it was approved during the grant process.
Move on to item number 7, discussion and possible action related to public parking in the town center area. I added this on the agenda just to start conversation with our parking issue that's most likely only going to get worse when we get more successful up front and the businesses grow and we have the addition of businesses. So this is mainly just to kind of start the conversation. About a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, Ronnie had David Hoffman, the architect that did a lot of the town center stuff originally. We met with him just in an informal meeting and drove around and looked at some of the opportunities we have for parking and some of the things we can do in the future, some of the next steps that we can do to to figure out what our options are. I don't know if y'all remember, but we did a parking, this is before my time, but we did a parking study in 2014 with, the Walker Consultants. And they did a full, study and the essential outcome was that you don't have any parking. And that was before we were popular and had all those businesses hopping up front. So, I had a discussion, or back and forth, talking to David Hoffman, and he is trying to figure out the best person to speak to at the Walker group, to see about maybe revising that study and looking at some of, the changes that we've made and some of our options going forward. And we're supposed to meet and have lunch sometime next week. So there may come a time where we need to actually, you know, contract with them and get some pricing together to figure out what we need to do.
Well, the low-hanging fruit would be to look at what we already have and see if we can, well, they are next to bar areas, so we have to be careful about how many more cars we try to squeeze in, but there should be ample room for more than what is currently lined up.
I think what we'll end up doing is coming up with a solve-all solution plan and know what that is, know how our options to funding that, most likely through grants, and having an end solution, and then we're gonna have to come up with some interim solutions, just like what you're talking about, making our existing parking more efficient, maybe try to find some other areas where, parking may be an option. So, I think that's gonna be a good scenario, is to figure out what's our end game, what would be our solve-all, and then figure out what we can do, and what the timeline would be to, improve parking going forward.
Do we know when, Galveston Bay Brewery's gonna open?
I spoke to them not that long ago after their permit was established, and they didn't give a timeline, even though I fished for it a little bit. But I bet, last time I talked to them, they were getting all of their subs in line and very anxious to start construction. I think Kevin left, but he may actually know.
A few months ago, it was end of the year. Yeah, but that was before the holdup with the permitting.
Well, we're gonna find out real quick about the parking.
Yeah, and, you know, there's more to that, you know, the brewery specifically, because of the license agreement that we're going through, and Brent's, he has an update on the license agreement that's part of all of that.
Yeah, the update on the license agreement is that, that's been presented to the lease, well, it's the amendment to the lease agreement, and I checked in with, Mrs. Lee. She had forwarded that to her attorney and hadn't heard anything back from her, and so, she was expecting to hear something. I talked to her, before 9/11, so it was, that Friday. I will check in with her again this week and inquire. And, for all the EDC, and Mr. President, there's a 7 o'clock meeting that's scheduled for in here, if we could possibly go to recess and then return for the last two items. I believe they don't have very much on their agenda, but there are a lot of people here that want to participate in that.
If that's the best scenario, I think that's okay, unless you think we can, mow through this real quickly. But some of these, probably will have some discussion, so,
I think if you could recess, that'd be
okay.
most appropriate.
But since that's the situation, we'll, go to recess right at, 7 o'clock, and we'll resume when they're done.